waiting.
Do you have a link? Yeah, we're still waiting on the channel.
All right, hold on. 1 second, everybody.
Everybody.
1 second, all our viewers out there. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the DCU Experience. If you were here before and saw us for a split second, no, you didn't. This is going to be the spoiler review for Superman, the best film ever made. Before we get into that, I would like to shout out our sponsor, GamerSupps. If you'd like to save 10% on your next GamerSupps order, head to gamersupps.gg/key issues. Again, that is gamersupps.gg/key issues. We do have True in the building. He was finally able to see it. Crisis and myself have seen the film twice, and the word on the street is really, really good. Superman is changing the hearts and minds of every cynic, creep, and loser out there in the entire world. It's just confirmed. It's just every person that I hated before Superman came out has changed and become a better person, except for one person. But everybody else was miraculously changed, which is great to see. True, we've not heard from you in quite a while. How you been? What you been doing? Hiding under a rock trying to avoid Superman spoilers, I assume?
Yep. I've had to block a couple people. Some people were definitely trying to spoil for no reason. My manager at work tried to spoil me, tried to leave early. But, you know,
I quit my job.
Yeah, he was trying to look for spoilers before I left. But yeah, no, it was a very worthwhile experience. I am very happy with what we got, I think. We had so much trepidations beforehand, but I'm both happy with the movie, and I'm really, really happy with the reactions of the regular people, because I think that the critics were always going to kind of like it. I think it was a good movie, but having regular people latch onto this version of Superman that is what we have wanted it makes me really happy. I think more than anything else, I think it is that joy of being like, listen, guys, this is the stuff I like, and now you can actually see it without certain directors, overarching slow motion versions of it. I think
I online I'm seeing like this overarching narrative of like it's the Toy Story meme of Andy dropping Woody, and there are so many people that are like so excited for the DC universe moving forward now that Superman has come out. They see the vision. James Gunn dropped the first Supergirl poster today. It got like 1 billion likes and retweets on Twitter. The groundswell is so real, and I'm really excited for the future of the DCU, and that this film was able to kick off something special. Like, I anticipated that the film was going to be good, but I didn't anticipate the reaction that people were going to have for Superman, the character. I think has gained so much in the eyes of the general audience that people who didn't like Superman previously, thought he was boring or overpowered or not interesting because he was so powerful, are now being dragged in, and the Superman's got his hooks in them, and he's turning them, and he's changing their hearts and minds. Crisis, Mister, I've seen the movie twice. How you feeling since last week when we last spoke? You're back in your home base.
Yep. It was a pretty good experience getting to see it. It was cool flying out there and hanging out, meeting you and Nick in person, meeting your dog, meeting Nick's family. So that was a great experience. Actually seeing the movie itself, that was a good time. Nice theater. Have some freebies up on my comic rack. They had also Superman #1 and Superman for All Seasons #1. They were giving those out for free, so that was very cool. But as far as how I've sort of I guess slept on the movie, I think I've described this to people in in the real world since, but on air for the first time. I think the situation I was in was so afraid it was going to be terrible. That unjustified fear, but like this, we really wanted this movie to land. We really needed it to land. And so watching it for the first time, I was worried. I was like waiting for it to be. I was waiting for a joke to be bad. I was waiting for CGI to look not good. Like all of the criticisms, I guess, the premature criticisms that were going on online, those were all kind of rattling in my head a little bit, even if maybe subconsciously. So the second time I saw it, I think I definitely have it's definitely gone up maybe at least a point in terms of my score, because I was able to rewatch it. I was able to not have those fears. I was able to just be like, okay, I know it's good. Now let me actually appreciate it back for the first time in in decades. The first time in decades, there's a good Superman movie. You know, it's been there hasn't been a good one in our lifetime, to be honest, and that's maybe the craziest part. But yeah, I think definitely I'm feeling the positivity. I'm feeling good about the reception online, like you said. Yeah, I think it's a good time to be a DC fan. It's a good time to be a James Gunn fan. It's a good time to have some hope for the future of this universe.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's just dive into the spoiler review. I mean, True has not gotten a chance to properly review the film, so we're going to give True the floor here for the next few minutes to at least wax poetic about how he felt about the film overall, and then we can just dive into spoilers, talk overarching narratives that we could be seeing in the DCU, and just get into everything that we want to talk about at length. So, True, the floor is yours. Let us know your thoughts on the movie, what you thought of the characters, the story. The floor is yours. We're gonna go on a True rant, but this time, instead of burning rage in his eyes and he's slamming his desk, you're gonna see tears welling up as he cries and is just so thankful to James Gunn for giving him this bountiful meal that he can enjoy for years and years to come. True, the floor is yours.
Do you know what's funny? While we were doing this, I just got more DMs from some people. These are just regular anime fans. And it was like, yeah, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I just got those DMs now. It is great. But let's talk. First thing, and I think the most important thing to get right, was the characters and the characterization, because a lot of other things could be fixed afterwards. But this base level of characterization that we got for everybody was pretty much perfect. I think there isn't really any changes I would make for anyone, because we can see growth and changes here and there, but Nicholas Hoult as Lex, man, what a perfect rendition, I think, because I could see him in all of these. I could see him in any of the Superman comics that I've read, right? I can see him as the actor, or his voice coming through that character and the way he portrayed it. And the same with Consweats as Superman as well, right? That like true openness and the actual honesty that he showed, even without people saying it, right? It is something that I think is missing a lot from other characters. It's just so good to see my Superman, right? I say our Superman, what we all absolutely loved. And then we can go to the other characters. I think Mr. Terrific and Guy, I like these characters. I'm not sure if I've talked about Guy on here. I absolutely love Guy Gardner, and I really like the way they did him. His attitude. Yeah, at the end of the day, Guy's still always going to do the right thing. Guy is a little bit of a bitch, but he will. When the chips are down, you can count on him, and he will pull through. I did like that. Mr. Terrific's overly sternness, that kind of pretense that he puts up. I think it was great. The intelligence was shown. Hot Girl was a little bit more. She didn't have as much to show her personality, but again, it's a filled movie. Oh, I didn't even talk about Lois. I think Lois grilling Superman, that scene I still think is one of the best scenes in the movie, because she is doing what she needs to do and getting a rise out of him in the best way. Even if she doesn't necessarily believe what she's saying, she's trying to push him to be better. And I think it is great. I think that chemistry is great. And his switching, we don't see it a lot. The way he switches from Clark to Superman, especially in that scene, the way he sits up, his voice changes a little bit. It is just such an excellent change for that. The visuals, all awesome. I think we talked about the coloring and the action scenes are what I'd like. Superman just there's just so many cool things, like Superman, with the engineer beating beating Ultraman with her, or breaking his arm to be able to throw Ultraman into the black hole at the end of the movie. I think there really isn't much more you could ask for outside of the only thing was the plot. I'm not sure if you guys got this feeling towards the end when they were like, "Oh, Superman, Lex wants to take over half this country," and I was like, "Man, I'm getting some older in real estate Lex Luthor vibes from this." Yeah. But then when they're like, "No, this is I'm only starting this war as an excuse to kill you," I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the shit I like. That's the shit I like." Yeah. He doesn't care about the Civil War to be so needlessly callous. To start an entire Civil War as an excuse is perfect for Lex, and that ability to go as far as he needs to use everyone around him to get his goals. Man, I guess I'm going back to waxing off Lex again, but he's just so good. Again, the Russian roulette scene in the Pocket Universe, did you guys think he was going to kill him there? Because I really didn't. I thought it was going to be one of those scenes of, oh, he'll do a couple of shots, it doesn't go through, and then he'll be like, "I'll come back tomorrow to question you." But it going off on the second shot and him just not caring, it is so good. But yeah, I think those are my overall thoughts on the movie as of now. I guess I'll expand on other things as we go on. The humor was great. I think Gunn can be a little bit much with his humor, but in this, I didn't think anything didn't land outside of one joke that I didn't find funny, which is right at the end. But outside of that, I think it was
I'm doing
pretty much exactly
stuff.
what we.
Is that the joke you didn't like?
Not that.
Okay, interesting.
It's not that.
Well, tell us what it was. It's an entire spoiler cast, man. You can say whatever you want.
True. I guess it's the Lex Luthor. Lex and Superman have that conversation right at the end, and I'm like, okay,
is it Crypto ragdolling him?
It is Crypto ragdolling him.
Okay.
I didn't find that funny at all. I just didn't. I could understand wanting to be like, yeah, the villain gets his comeuppance, but I think having them go at each other and just be like, okay, this is what I believe and this is what I believe. Having that, I think you let that tension sit. You then take Lex away. He takes him to jail. I need that. I needed that to sit. That. But it felt like we cut that a little bit. We still obviously have that going for the characters, but I wanted that to be their final scene and not like, Crypto dropping Lex and him breaking his arm. It's not. At that point, I don't think the joke was worth cutting the tension of that scene.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I felt that in the first watch in the second as well. I think I agree with you overall. The Russian roulette scene, I don't know what I was expecting, and I think that is like the great thing about this Lex Luthor and this movie specifically is like anything goes, anything could happen. I don't really know much about this Lex Luthor, and that was a really heart-wrenching scene, and I think it showed how much Superman really just cared about everybody and everything, you know, life itself, not necessarily just human life, as we see when he saves the squirrel, which I loved, and people are like complaining about it. Those people need to kick rocks, but I feel like at that point, like, Superman was just making sure people were going to be safe from the kaiju, and the Justice Gang had it under wraps. But the Russian roulette scene, when he was like, Superman, don't tell him anything, like, you buying food for me was such an honor, I have no family, I have no friends, he could kill me, please don't tell him anything. The guy loves Superman so much. He could have been lying for all we know. He could have a wife and kids, but he was the #1 dedicated Superman stan. And then Superman like shed a tear about it. And I think that was really important because it also showed Metamorpho, Superman's humanity, and he was obviously, you know, terrified, but I think somewhat moved by Superman as well. So yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. It's up there, maybe like top 3 favorite scenes in the movie. I do think that the Superman and Lois interview, though, is my favorite. Like, the Mr. Terrific scene is great. When Guy Gardner shows up and he says, "You got an upgrade, kid," like, that's awesome. But there's so many good scenes to choose from.
I think the scene that got me the most, I think, was definitely him speaking to his father. Parents are here to give you tools, and then you make a fool of yourself. Man, yeah, that's that. You know, that's that good shit. You know,
good stuff.
I need that injected straight away.
That's
right?
Pure hopium distilled in its most crystalline form. Yeah, for sure.
Pure.
Yeah, those moments, those were the peak for me as well. The family moments. I guess, you know, I would say, off the back of our initial review, because I less so want to talk about the quality and more so about the story elements, or like some controversial inclusions or setup for the rest of the universe. But I would say, to get that out of the way first, the quality overall. I mean, seeing the criticisms have made me like this movie more, because when you get like the test, like when something you like gets tested, you know, sometimes you go, "Oh, that's a good point," but I haven't heard one. Like, all the criticisms have been, you just don't like the character, you know, you just don't like Superman. And bottom line is, like, then
criticism that I've seen online is the decision that they made with Superman's parents. I don't know how this is going to end up. I've seen a lot of people say, well, maybe we have like a Brainiac thing going on. Maybe Brainiac messed with it. Nobody would be able to distinguish or determine that Brainiac messed with it, because he's Brainiac. He's just on a level of intellect above everyone else. But that is a criticism that I've seen a lot of people talking about online. Probably the most overwhelming piece of criticism that I've seen is that specifically. So, Crisis, I want to get your opinion on that, since you brought the criticisms up.
Yeah, I made a community post, you know, because whenever I analyze these movies or whatever, I always look at it from the perspective of the main continuity comics. I made a community post, and the Jor-El of the comic books, 100% still canon. They couldn't really retcon this if they wanted to at this point, because it's so integral to John Kent's, you know, narrative now. But in the comics, what happened was Jor-El, you know, he monitored Earth as best he could. You know, I forget it. You know, it's kind of like pre-crisis sort of stuff. But he had an understanding of Earth, and he sent Superman there. And then, as Krypton was exploding, Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen teleported Jor-El to Earth, and then Jor-El lived on Earth for, I don't know if it's decades, but a long enough time that he had seen conflict, and he had seen, human nature, and he basically became a supervillain. And his life's mission was to convince Kal-El, to convince his son to give up on humanity, and that's main canon Jor-El. That's like, if you look in a guidebook right now, you do a cursory glance, that's kind of like the biggest storyline he's been a part of. And even beyond that, there's been some interesting things about Jor-El making the Phantom Zone and Superman musing about how, like, that's a pretty crazy punishment, right? Like, there are criminals on Krypton, and his father made a device to send them to a timeless, spaceless dimension where they just suffer with an incorporeal, reality forever. Um, and so I'm like, honestly, what Gunn did was tame by comparison, and if anything, it's just sort of a mild realignment to the main canon, storyline and motivations of the characters. But even if you expand the purview, like Smallville, Jor-El was basically a villain for a good chunk of that show, and he had a similar thing. Once Clark in that show got the full message that was sent with to his pod, it was something like it was similar. It was like last son of Krypton, blah blah blah, rule them with strength. So it's totally not unfounded that Jor-El would have that perspective on humans. And I asked myself too, because obviously, as far as adaptations, that's not so much the rule. The rule being Jor-El doesn't think highly of humanity, or he wants Clark to multiply and rule over them. So I asked myself, I'm like, what qualities best affect Superman's character? What qualities of his parents, his biological parents, affect them? And at the core of it, to me, it was they love him. They sent him as the last hope of their species. That he would be the last son of Krypton. That he would be, the best of their people and continue that. And that was covered. That is still absolutely true. And I mean, beyond that, like I said, it's not totally unfounded. It's pretty much in line with the current continuity, outside of literally having Jor-El. And I've seen, I've gone back and forth with shooters. I've never in all my days met anyone who's like, ah, man, Jor-El, you have to respect him. You have to, but I've gone back and forth, and it's like, maybe in certain continuities, Jor-El made more of a concerted effort to find out the nature of humanity and kind of respect them. But I don't know, I'm really not offended by it. And I also think we've had so many Superman movies and shows that have stuck to that and have told the traditional story. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's kind of like the My Adventures of Superman. They're basically Viltrumites, the Kryptonians in that.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not out of line to do that with Jor-El, but more presciently, Gunn wants to humanize this character. And like you were saying, Garrick, a lot of people are connecting with this version because Gunn went out of his way to address the biggest, linchpins of people's inability to connect with the character. And bottom line is, he's an alien, and if he gets his motivation, like in the Snyderverse, he got all of his motivation from Jor-El.
Yeah.
And at a certain level, it's perhaps relatable. I'm sure if you were adopted, or you're an orphan or something, and you have this innate disconnect and longing, then it could be comforting in a sense to get your motivation, to see Superman, and you could vicariously live through. He gets his motivation from the father he never knew he had, or he was always looking for. But that was lacking in John Kent motivation. John Kent was kind of just apathetic and just do whatever you want to do, Clark, but didn't want to, nudge him in any direction. So I think the point ultimately was pretty clear. It's to keep what is necessary about Jor-El and the Kryptonians, but emphasize Clark's humanity. Emphasize that the hero that he is not because of his biological heritage. It's because clearly what he believed in and what resonated with him was the first part of the message and his interpretation of that. And then also his connection to humanity is ultimately what makes him a hero. So, I think it doesn't really offend me. It doesn't break Jor-El. It, for better or worse, it's pretty accurate to the canon at this point in time. If not, like I said, even a little tamer. And I think it ultimately serves a part of James' experiment here, which is there have been so many attempts to have Superman connect with mass audiences, and it hasn't been since Christopher Reeve that it's really totally 100% landed. And so you got to mix something up. You have to address the deficiencies there. You have to do something. And I think he did just enough where it doesn't, fly in the face of canon, but it also is a refreshing twist. And I think it's clearly paying off with the reception that the movie's been getting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are Jor-El pilled because they like Man of Steel, and he's like really cool in that. And in that, like you said, that is like Jor-El's his moral compass, basically. But I mean, even in that film, when Clark is about to be sent to, or Kal-El is about to be sent to Earth, he's like, yeah, the yellow sun will make him a god, and he'll be a god to them. Yep. So that'll be sweet. Like that's what he said about it. And then when his consciousness or whatever that was uploaded to the cloud met with him later, then he talked more about humanity and morals and things like that, obviously. But when he was talking to his wife, he's like, yeah, he'll just be a god, I guess. That'll be cool, right?
Yeah, she was like, they'll kill him. He's like, they won't. They're too stupid to accept him. And he was like, well, he'll be a god.
Yeah.
I think this goes to the point of everybody has an opinion on comic books, but none of them are read. I don't want to be... Nah, actually, fuck it, I'll be rude. I hate it. The opinions of people where they're like, yeah, no, this is how it is. And it's just... It is either they've seen one piece of outside comic media and then they believe this is how it is in the comics without having read it. Or sometimes it's you just haven't kept up to understand how that bit of lore has been expanded. So, like, it is just when something is different and you notice it, they will then say something. Because I don't know if any of them... Sorry, I keep being tame. None of them has put as much thought into it as someone like Crisis has to go through and say, okay, let's truly understand the situation. It is purely, this thing is different from what I know or what I expect, therefore it is bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So... I just don't like criticisms like that. If somebody was to say, because I think the only thing I could accept, and I think when me and Crisis talked about this last week, I did say it then makes it a little bit too easy, where it's like, okay, the Kryptonian side is bad and then the human side is good, right? It makes it a pretty easy dichotomy versus trying to like pick lessons from both sides, which then makes me interested in what Kara's backstory is going to be with the rest of her family. Is all of Krypton going to be the full Viltrumite, Sane-esque stuff, or is it going to be specifically Jor-El in the way that he saw humanity? I also had a thought. When they said humanity were primitives, I assumed that when he saw humanity, this was in the past, right? Because if they're far away, he probably isn't seeing modern humans, right?
Yeah,
he might be judging like Cro-Magnums or something.
Yeah, something that's that far back, which is what I thought of immediately when I first saw it. I was like, oh wait, that's probably somewhat. But again, I don't want them to do the Brainiac idea of they went to too many lengths to say this is real for me to then want them to say next movie it wasn't real. Please don't. Or it was a mistranslation or anything.
I've been seeing a lot of cope on people's, and especially like when Mr. Terrific talks about it and like Clark looks to him for like reassurance, like this is fake, right? And he's like, no, I know the computer science dudes, it's legit. But he doesn't say anything about the linguists specifically that translated it. So could these top linguists really translate something that accurately when they have a couple sentences of an of an alien language, a dead alien language at that. Could they actually properly translate it? The odds of that seem low in my head, but like you said, True, the intention of the filmmaker was to say that it's real, even if he didn't go like, I don't think there's a way for you to go through and say like debunk everything. Like, no, Brainiac didn't do it. No, of course it's translated perfectly. And like, I think James Gunn is saying that it is real, and then we'll see more of what that means through Kara. And Kara's a much more, she's not more complicated, but she's a lot different than Superman. And she's not just Clark, but a girl. And I think a lot of people are going to start to find that out, because adaptations that we've gotten in the past are that. I think the CW character leaned into that a lot. Whereas, like, not only is she Kal-El, but she has all the exact same stories and exact same villains as him, and basically we're just going to sub this in and pretend it's a Superman show, which is kind of what they did for the majority of it. So people are going to find out how different Kara is, and maybe her, reckless behavior and her drinking has something to do with the bloody past of Krypton that she had to deal with, more closely than Kal ever had to. So I'm really interested to see what goes on with her. I know James Gunn has recently said in interviews that the person that is the main character, quote unquote, of the DCU, we've seen them thus far, and they're probably somebody that you wouldn't expect. I would eliminate Superman from that almost immediately. I would probably eliminate Batman from that, and Wonder Woman. We've seen all three of those characters. Peacemaker, obviously, I don't think is the main character. If I had to guess, I would say it's Supergirl. She is one of the four pillars that they announced at the beginning will be a main part of the DCU: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Trinity, plus Supergirl. So I would assume that the main character of the verse is going to be Supergirl. And then James Gunn has said that the Supergirl movie is the best script in the DCU. It's better than any other script that he's gotten. It's good. It's like his favorite movie of all time. I think she's just going to be the main character, and that'll be really interesting. I think that's a character that James Gunn probably has a little bit more experience with, if we're just going off like the surface level of what we've seen thus far, where Star-Lord was kind of similar to that, where he had like a really complicated past with his alien family, and also spent a lot of the third movie off getting drunk and not really coming to terms with any of that. Of course, James Gunn didn't write Supergirl. We need to keep that in mind. But I think there's a lot to draw from if that's the main character of the universe that he is pioneering, is like the Kevin Feige of the universe.
I just wanted to bring up a random thing that I just remembered. Lois's history of not being a military brat is one of those things, because she talks about her history in one of the scenes with Clark, and that is I don't know if anybody cares. I just thought it was
like a punk rocker, weird girl.
Yeah. Instead of her being like, because one of the aspects that I kind of like about Lois is the like just randomly putting herself in danger. Let me rephrase that. Not randomly, she puts herself in danger to get the story because she believes in that truth more than anything else, right? And then that background kind of gives her the confidence to go into like these war zones and all these different places. I kind of hope we see more of her and Clark show up again.
Yeah, I think we could.
Yeah, that would justify her flying around like spaceships, like she's already been doing. And
also in the prequel novel, where she was like running up to Metallo, like trying to figure out what's going on and not being scared at all, and like almost being killed by him, and then being like, "Yeah, that was cool." So yeah, that makes sense to me. I think we'll get a lot more into Lois, but we don't know what's going on with like a sequel to Superman. I know a lot of people are like, hey, I want a direct sequel, and James Gunn is like, I'm not making one. So I don't really know what's going to go on with that. I think most people are assuming it's going to be World's Finest. That's what I would guess. But it could also be like a Superman Supergirl movie for all we know. You know what I mean? It could be a Superman Wonder Woman movie. Like, we literally don't know. We just know he's not making a direct sequel to this movie.
I was thinking, again, kind of on the Jor-El angle, and then how they could explore that in the future, because I think a lot of people are anticipating that thread to get pulled, further, especially with Supergirl. But I think they should do the bottled city and have Superman interface with,
cool.
that culture in that way, because, it's like Jor-El. I mean, there's been a few stories, obviously, when he came, as a villain, when Dr. Manhattan pulled him out from the past. But there's been very few interactions between Superman and his father through, time travel or whatever. But the more important thing, I think, is less like meeting his dad, but it's trying to understand the culture at large, trying to understand Kryptonian life, and kind of maybe in a sense of like what he would miss. And the fact is, trying to choose between those two different lives. So I think that would be cool if at some point he's able to explore that, because we've never really gotten that. Like, I think it would be so cool if there was like a set piece in the bottled city. Same thing if Supergirl were in that'd be really cool. Maybe you do that. Maybe you do Supergirl Superman versus Brainiac bottles, or he reveals he's got a bottle of Candor and he's like, check this out, you want to know anything about your
Take
homeworld?
a sip of that,
and they're
buddy.
like, yeah, they're like, hell yeah, and they hop in and some shenanigans ensue. But yeah, the main character thing, I guess Supergirl, that's a good inference, since he did bring her up as a pillar, and then the fact that the script is as airtight as he's talking about, because that, I mean, we know the Clayface script seems to be done, or near completion.
Sergeant Rock, the Batman.
That script is done. Yep. The DCU Batman script is started, or they're working on it. Some vague, something or other. They're fast tracking Wonder Woman, and then last we heard about the Teen Titans script, which is written by the Supergirl writer, writing the movie, that it needed some fiddling. So, I mean, it's definitely not for nothing that Supergirl
Lanterns
is
as well.
Lanterns,
there's a lot of
Peacemaker
stuff
too.
that he's seen, that like complete stories that he's read, and Supergirl's his favorite of all of them. It's exciting. It's definitely exciting. I don't think a lot of people would have anticipated that, but when she showed up at the end, I think everyone was just so incredibly excited to see her, not just because she's a part of like Superman's story, but because that's literally the next movie we're getting. And then also I think everyone fell in love with Crypto. They want more Crypto. And he's obviously going to be a big part of that. But yeah, Supergirl.
Crypto might be the secret main character. Supergirl.
I saw somebody ask him that, and James is like, no, it's not Crypto.
Well, he said, someone was like, he's kind of the secret protagonist of Superman. He's like, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, he's the protagonist so far. The first movie, it's apparently Crypto's movie.
But is Supergirl not? Because him being the main protagonist is someone that you've seen. I feel like saying it's Supergirl is too easy. It could be Supergirl, but I don't know why you'd be so cryptic about it. Right?
Peacemaker season 2 is supposed to be really important plot wise. It's supposed to set up, a lot of the stuff going forward.
Yeah, he'll set. We'll know kind of.
Yeah.
I think it could easily be Peacemaker. I think Peacemaker could easily prove to be like the MVP. I mean, we think these things in terms of Marvel, so we think like Iron Man's the MVP, so he has to die saving, all of reality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the definition of like the main character from when Gunn's talking about it. It could just be who has the most like character development, who has the most like transformative journey.
I was assuming like the central focal, like they're the character we follow throughout the Gods and Monsters like era.
It's hard to say practically. It's not going to be someone like Superman or Batman. Like how it just doesn't. How would you organically?
Supergirl, baby.
I don't
think it's. It would. You'd have to force her into so many like.
Yeah.
Because
if she's in space, she can be in Lanterns as well, right? But I think Lex, right? Because Lex is easy to do where with his intelligence
idea.
With his intelligence and what we've seen him do, he can really do any tech. At this point, he can do magic. I'm just gonna say, like, being able to make in his pocket universe by recreating the Big Bang, you can do whatever tech you want. So he could have influences at any point, right? He can deal with Superman, but he could also deal with like the Task Force X and Peacemaker and all of that. So him being at any one of those positions wouldn't be weird, right?
Legion
and
of
have the
Doom.
connections to reach. I mean, listen, they have both Cersei and Lex jailed up straight away, right?
Yeah,
Rod somewhere in the universe.
So we've already putting them together in some.
Cersei. Well, they're both in Belle Reve, I believe, or Belle Reve, I think is what they call it.
That's true.
Okay, I was about to. Belle
it's gonna be a big Belle Reve prison break, and it's gonna be the Legion of Doom, which that's kind of like the ending of the Batman. If it's gonna be Cersei and Lex like in a cell next to each other, being like, "Let's go crazy,
dap me up,
let's go." Yeah, no, I could see that. My thing with Lex is Gunn's muse, especially since he went to DC, was finding villains and turning them into heroes or revealing the hero within. And I think just in his writing style, it'll be interesting to see how Superman develops with that said, because even with Guardians, they weren't necessarily villains. Like maybe you could say Gamora was a villain and then like Rocket was just a scumbag. And then like, Nebula was a villain definitely by the first movie, and then she ended up being super integral and important. But I would say like if it's Lex, that would prove the best showcase of that skill that Gunn has, that kind of experiment where how do you take someone who shot this poor guy in the head and is like torturing and imprisoning these people and take him to an arc where he becomes a hero, like and that's not totally unfounded for Lex in the comics especially. I mean there's a lot of not necessarily false starts, but attempts at having his ego justify like, well, I'll be an even better hero than Superman.
Yeah,
that was in Rebirth, and that was a really interesting territory. I think that would be really interesting to see him be like, okay, well, if they worship Superman and they let him do whatever he wants, I want a piece of that, so I'll throw my hand in it being like a beloved mascot, and obviously there's the sort of tragic element in the comics where Superman knows that Lex could be the greatest hero of them all if he could just stop being so obsessed with him. And like in Red Sun, there's also that element where because Superman isn't constantly in Lex's like crosshairs, it means that Lex just is the greatest man in history. He just is inventing all of the most necessary technology. He's politically brilliant, so he's just rising the United States to new levels. But yeah, I think that would be interesting to see, because Gunn I don't think he is interested in writing an evil person that's just evil for 10 movies straight. Like I just don't see that.
I would say I do want him to be evil. Listen, it's too good for him not to be evil for another couple movies. Give me 8 movies of him being a bitch, right? I'll take that one. Because
you also don't want to get into like if we go that route, then I feel like we're just doing Loki again.
I would never say don't do something because the MCU have done something similar. I would never ruin the opportunity to do this because the MCU is doing. I don't think it's worth it.
Sure.
Because if it is a natural story, because again, we see Lex feels genuine emotion when people turn on him, right? That's one of the. So he shows emotions pretty much 2 times, when it looks like Engineer dies and when the people turn on him. So there is something there about him wanting the people to believing him. So there's something to pull there, right? And I would never want you to just be like, oh well, let's not do this because MCU did it. I don't think it's a worthwhile way to hold yourself back, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I think insofar as is Lex going to be the one to make the sacrifice and say evolve reality? I mean, I don't know. I think
is he going to jump
on the
grenade?
I think it's just yet to be seen. Yeah,
what does Cap say?
Yeah,
lay down on the wire.
Gun, lay down the wire. Yeah.
Let the other guy crawl over you.
No.
Gunn's compared it to Star Wars, and obviously like the main character of Star Wars is Anakin, is Vader, and his big moment was just saving one person basically. Obviously, you know, he killed the Emperor and all that, but the sort of like he didn't snap the Infinity Stones to kill Thanos, who's gonna break every molecule of the universe, you know, or Loki. Yeah. He's not gonna sacrifice his free will to protect every timeline or whatever. But I do think that would be interesting to see, to take the, so far obviously the ultimate evil person, because that was also something that Gunn's clarified in interviews. He's like, Superman empathizes with Lex by the end. Like, Superman watched Lex shoot this guy, and by the end he's like, I know in you, your humanity is your greatest strength. You know, he goes on his you know, he says a speech about how Lex is wrong about him, and he turns it right back on him. He's like, I know that deep down that's true of you too. And Gunn was like, yeah, part of this movie is saying, you know, no matter who you are, that you are, there is a humanity to you, and that should be respected. And again, just fostering that idea of like, we should all just get along. We should all try to just get along. And I think that would be a great way to sell that message, is you take the villain by the end and take him into a place where maybe there is a path of redemption. But yes, I do want to see evil. I want to see him run the full spectrum. I want to see him, you know, lead the Legion of Doom, try to become president. Maybe he does. Maybe he becomes Apex Lex and gets like, you know, Perpetua level power. And then maybe after he's like, oh, well, I got all the way to the top of villainy and it didn't work, so maybe I'll try to be a hero now. And Nicholas Hoult, I mean, he's there for keeps, man. I mean, and James Gunn said it as well. He's like, this guy, he's probably going to be here for as long as Superman, you know. He's like the villain, so that'll be really cool to see.
Casting the guy that didn't get the Superman role as the villain, a stroke of genius. Got to say, Marvel also did it first with Loki. Tom Hiddleston auditioned to be Thor, but it works out every time. They have, whether they're willing to admit it or not, there's a thought in the back of their head like, this guy fucking took what's mine. I have to kill him.
I'm Alding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't wait. I do love the moments when Superman tries so hard to get Lex to see it, and Lex just can't, right? And it annoys Superman because, like, man, you're so close, but yet you're so far because you can't see past that.
Who is this alien to preach at me about humanity? He's not even human, right? It's just something that doesn't make sense in Lex's brain, despite him being the smartest guy on the planet. And I think it was really interesting that Lex was that monologue he gives at the end to Superman when he's fighting Ultraman, about all the greatest minds in the history of the world, Galileo, etc., and then talking about how Lex knows exactly what his own faults are. He knows that he's driven by emotion when he shouldn't be, but he's embracing it because he hates this guy so much, and he's so jealous of everything that Superman gets and all the adulation from the masses, which is really what he wants at the end of the day. I mean, we were talking about how he was being real estate Lex and trying to get half of a country to become king of it, and that's what Lois and Jimmy thought that he was doing, when in reality he spent $80 billion to start a civil war to have an excuse to kill Superman. And if he got some land and the title of king or whatever, that's nice. He probably wouldn't have even set foot there ever in his entire life. He would have stayed in the United States. I'm almost certain of that. But yeah, the Lex, I think, it's tough to say because I think I don't know if there was any character that I could point out that I was like, this character wasn't very well written. Talking about the main characters specifically, like Lois, Clark, Lex, some members of the Justice Gang, Jimmy. I thought everybody was incredibly well written, but Lex I felt was just on like another level. And then like Superman's the main character of the film. He's right there, but I think Lex maybe has him by just a hair. They're just both so good together, and it really feels like they were both born to play these roles. Like David Cornsweet, especially the second time I was watching it, just like you said at the beginning of the episode, True, just the way he carried himself. Obviously, a lot of Christopher Reeve influence in there, but I said in the first review that we had that David Cornsweet had the potential to be the definitive Superman above Christopher Reeve at the end of the day. And I think this start was so powerful for him that he's already well on his way to doing that. He's just so believable as this larger-than-life character. He just fits into the boots perfectly. It's an Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. Level of just perfection in my mind. And I'll say I don't think we've ever had like a Batman that's gotten anywhere close to like this perfect symbiotic relationship that David Cornsweet seemingly has with Superman, and that Nicholas Hoult has with Lex as well, and that Rachel has with Lois. I think all three of those were just incredible, just knocked it out of the park. Shout out to everybody involved in the casting process.
Yeah,
it's just crazy since there's been so many more Batman.
Yeah.
There have been so many more Batman than Superman in the movies, and it was just waiting right there.
Kevin Conroy with the voice, I think, is the closest we've gotten to like truly embodying.
He's a cheat code.
Yeah, I'm talking live action specifically.
I understand, right?
Even though he did play him in live action a couple times, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I would say that Robert Pattinson is probably the closest for me. But even then, it's not perfect. It's not. I'm not going to even go down that road at all. I'm just mentioning that I think he's really good, and I think he's probably the best Batman. Yeah, I would say that.
I want to quickly touch on the world building because we've talked about the characters a lot. But I really like, because again, this solidified what we're saying. This world is just going to be future tech everywhere, right? All the countries have it. That's it. You know, making portals to other dimensions is just base level tech that Lex has. But then the Justice Gang, the Hall of Justice Memorial.
We hit the ground running, man. Yeah,
got me so excited. I'm really happy I noticed it in the movie and I didn't have to spot it outside because
I didn't. Crisis leaned over to me during the film. He's like, "Wildcat, you see that?" I was like, "No." My eyes were on Hawk Girl. I am sorry, I did not. I was not looking at the scene dressing. But yeah.
I like the way the world is being set up, where it feels like we can have a little bit of crazy adventures, and we don't have like this disconnect of the world's tech is super low, but every single villain has like the highest tech possible, right? It feels like everything's on a level that is cohesive. So if we had like a Batman, we wouldn't want it to be super grounded and anything like that, right? Crisis, we'd have a higher tech, more fantastical Batman.
Because he's supposed to be like one of the smartest men on the planet, but then you look at like Lex, Mr. Terrific. It's got me really excited to see DCU Batman and what kind of crazy tech he's got, like shotgun, stuff like that. That's not going to matter to him, so it's going to be really exciting to see, You're going to have T-Sphere level batarangs, that'll be pretty cool. That's a good point. You brought that up.
But yeah, no, I did really love the way this universe has been set up, especially just the world so far. We've now had like 4 or 5 made up Eastern European countries. So, we can keep doing it, I guess. Wherever Queen Bee's from, we can add that too. Hopefully we get a movie in the UK. By that I mean Constantine. Come on, guys. And please not an American actor. I don't...
Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves is still on the...
I would not watch it.
Docket.
I'm not watching it.
That is pretty cringe. But, yeah, the JSA... somebody, they did a chart of everybody, and there's some random members for sure, but the big guns, we have Jay Garrick, we have Wildcat, we have Dr. Fate. I don't think anyone's noticed an Alan Scott.
I did not.
I would be remiss if he wasn't part of the JSA, if he wasn't part of the universe. I'm surprised we haven't seen a set photo of that mural at this point, or a behind the scenes clip that shows off more of it in in crystal clear HD, but yeah, that's super cool. I mean, so far we've got Jay Garrick confirmed, and then Wally West is also confirmed to exist.
Oh, Spectre as well. Yeah.
Yep, Spectre is there, which very very cool, very cool implications.
How does the 300 years make sense, man? How does Spectre exist in the 300 years make sense? It just doesn't make any sense, but it's fine. I just... Is Spectre not a meta?
He can't be categorized as a metahuman.
Then what about Dr. Fate? Because
unless, well, here's what you'd say, right? Is God's vengeance is just like, it's not, there's no embodiment. But then when it latched on to a host, then it's a metahuman, and that would have been sometime around World War II, right?
Sure.
If you say, like, I'm not even sure, like maybe Eclipso would be a contradiction. I don't think he got his powers.
Fate would be. Fate, for example.
Fate, maybe, yeah. If I just wouldn't call Fate a metahuman. I just don't.
I wouldn't call Superman a metahuman.
Right? Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
it's strange.
And then if we believe that, his father saw the past of humanity, like, Krypton is more than 300 years old. Like, are we saying the planet was only around for that long and they have intergalactic space travel?
Well, they don't have powers on Krypton. They're not meta.
Oh, man. Come on.
They're just
they
like
have the same DNA. They have the same DNA. Come on. Like,
peaceful, bro.
Listen, every single time I notice something, that 300 years is it's itching away at my brain. I'm gonna be honest with you, but that's really I was
surprised. I was surprised to see that is literally in the title crawl, like 100%. We're dedicated to doing this. There's no wiggle room. You can't retcon it now. You can't. Yeah. You can't go back on this. It's in the narrator, just omniscient text in the first movie. So, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like that we're gonna have to see the first metahuman at some point. We're gonna see because that was the mural was described as explain the history of metahumans on Earth. That was the point of the mural. I really want to see the full thing. I feel like the movie just did not show the full thing. I feel like there's like a complete wraparound, of image there that we're missing. But I think we're gonna have to. We're getting a JSA movie for sure. They're gonna be in Sergeant Rock. They're gonna cameo, and then we're just gonna get a JSA movie. Because if they're just in the universe, come on, you can't.
Yeah, we can't not do JSA. I mean, I guess they could just say magic isn't meta. It's different, but yeah, oh man. What were your thoughts? I'm not sure if you guys talked about this because I didn't want to spoil myself. On the action sequences in the movie, did you think they were what you expect from a Superman fight?
Yeah, I thought they were all pretty cool. I mean, honestly, I think it was a good. The movie itself was a good mix. It was a good mix of the heart of the Reeve movies, and then I think it did have some Snyder isms as far as the intensity of the action. And that's not to say that Snyder has, he's the authority on exciting superhero action movies, but within the confines of Superman, that's going to be the comparison. And I think the thing that I felt was a step up is basically the only people that Snyder Superman fought, at least within his own movies, was just other Kryptonians. He fought Zod, Feora, Namek, and then Doomsday might as well just be another Zod that is just screaming more. But in this, it felt like he's fighting Ultraman, obviously, but with the Engineer, with the Kaiju, with the Raptors, it just felt like the powers on display just a lot more creative. There's a lot more creative, things like seeing Ultraman even heat vision into Superman's eyes. The flying around the Kaiju fire, the spinning, super fast to get all the Raptors off of you, and then heat vision spinning them to disable them. No, I thought it was very inventive and exciting, and again, the CGI never really wavered. There's not like a single like undercooked shot for sure.
Maybe a little bit of an issue, but obviously Mr. Terrific had the best action scene in the movie and was a complete standout star. Like, I don't think it's close. That's just the best action scene in the movie by far, and everybody's talking about it. You know, for someone to come in and steal the spotlight in the action sense, but I think it's a good thing at the end of the day. I don't think it detracts from Superman. I think Superman had a lot of really cool scenes that Crisis just mentioned, but Mr. Terrific was an absolute showstopper, scene stealer every single time he showed up on the screen. Would really be excited to see a Mr. Terrific series, which I guess they were tossing around a little bit, along with a Jimmy Olsen series, which could be absolutely off the wall insane, but I don't think the masses are quite ready for what Jimmy Olsen could bring. Introducing Darkseid in a intergalactic NASCAR race could be pretty
Jimmy
cool.
Olsen should have to be the Wolverine tied to a nuke meme. Like, it would just have to be. That's the stuff.
It's just absolute.
He gets transformed into monsters.
It'd be cool if it was like
it's
animated. I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, Mr. Terrific just had the best action scene. He was awesome, and I really like the Justice Gang showing up in Baravia Jarampur at the end. That Green Lantern, Guy Gardner got his respect. The Green Lanterns have gotten some respect back after the Ryan Reynolds fiasco, which people
from
will
Guy
not
Gardner.
Yeah, that's crazy. They won't let it go,
Come on,
but now they're starting to realize that Green Lanterns are pretty friggin' cool.
Green Lanterns are so cool, man. I mean, you know, my girlfriend, she's definitely part of the unwashed masses before I started introducing all this stuff to her, and she's like, when I describe like the Jeff John Green Lantern stuff and just all the different cores, he's like, man, that's like, I don't know, that stuck
People
with her.
get
and I feel
excited
like,
about that, like they get excited about Hogwarts houses. Like, which lantern ring do you have?
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, Guy, the stocks for the Lantern show, and it's like, just, this is what we've been waiting for. I feel so mad, man, because we were robbed. Like, all it took was one movie, and all these characters, the stocks are so high. Like,
James Gunn knows how to do a lot with
like,
a little bit, which is, you really just see it.
Like, you're like, could a Jimmy Olsen show work? Yes. Could a Mr. Terrific show work and be exciting? Yes. Lanterns is going to be cool. We want to know more about, you know, all these characters. We want to see more Hot Girl. Supergirl is getting, like, her being in this movie for like 10 seconds was enough to make people lose their mind over the poster. The Supergirl
Crypto,
poster.
I mean, like, searches for dog adoptions like increased 500% online after the first weekend, which is insane. I have my own, you know, scruffy little rascal mutt dog, so I'm already cryptoed out. But if you don't have one, go get yourself one. Go save a dog, and they'll be your best friend for the rest of your life, man. They're awesome. Talking to
one
you, True.
movie.
Yeah. I'm allergic to dogs, so I can't.
Whatever. Lock in. I'm allergic to cats. Just. I don't know how to explain it any deeper. Yeah, I'll just lock in.
One movie though is able to just. It's like DC's here, man. It's up to
here,
up to
and
the plate.
It feels
and,
fully formed. I like True brought up earlier. We're in the thick of it right off the beginning. And we get the setup with the 300 years, 30 years, the 3 years, 3 months. Well, what was it? 3 days, 3 minutes?
3 minutes?
I feel like we could have gone 3,000 years on metahumans, but that's okay.
There we go.
To be fair, we're getting back like 1000 AD. We the historical record goes back that far pretty easily. Now, if you were like 30,000 years, that's like actual. That would be like actual like Vandal Savage type stuff, but yeah.
I love the Cro-Magnons.
Yeah, the Neanderthals. I'm really excited for the future of DC. We talked about a lot. We didn't even scratch the surface, I don't think, of everything that we could talk about. So we'll be back next week to talk about all of that. But before we do that, we need to get to a couple donos, and we will answer your questions or respond to your comments. If you ever leave a super chat, we do that always at the end of every episode, and the donations go to, drumroll please, the True Fund to get him over here. But luckily for True, I think we have reached the mountaintop, because last week we were given $200 from a single legendary super chatter to get your ass over here. So now you have no excuse, and True will be in the building for Supergirl. He hasn't seen it yet. So he'll have to go back and watch that review. But like I said, next week we're probably just going to talk about Superman more. There's more stuff. We didn't even talk about Metamorpho. We didn't even talk about Baby Joey, the Black Hole, the anti-proton river. We really didn't talk about like Mr. Terrific, Hot Girl, or Guy Gardner, like that in depth. Honestly, there's so much more stuff we could talk about. So we're gonna get to just more. It's just gonna be more Superman until the wheels fall off, baby. And then there's more and more news coming out. We'll get to that eventually, but we're just too hyped on Superman. So let's get to this first super chat from Michael Myers, a classic Key Issue supporter. Thank you so much for the $1.99. Where do we scale Engineer and Ultraman? Well, Crisis and I are working on a video where we're gonna rank the entire DCU so far. We'll give you a little peek into what we're thinking. Ultraman's going to be obviously up there with Superman. Engineer, it's hard to say. We're going to dig into it. I think she's maybe around Justice Gang level. That's how I feel about it. I don't know if you guys feel any different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if too many characters could survive her suffocation abilities, if you know, she's able to get that close. Obviously I think like Lantern could probably figure a way out of it, and then Mr. Terrific, you could maybe argue he was kind of off guarded, but he was slammed into by Engineer, and then they both sort of hit the ground into the field, and then Terrific was kind of out for the rest of that action scene. So yeah, I think Justice Gang tier would be pretty good. I just feel like Guy Gardner's too versatile and too mobile probably to be potentially taken out. Like, he could easily just put like make a face mask or something and block the nanites from going, you know, into his brain or whatever, into his lungs.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ultraman's interesting. I'll say this, I think the fact that Superman, while suffocating, was just flying into space, and Ultraman was punching him in the stomach over and over, and in the head,
back of the head too. That's an illegal strike.
Back of the head, kidney shots. I think Superman is holding back.
Stomped him in the nuts in one scene.
And Superman just came back for more. But no, I think Superman is built different in this movie, and a lot of people are. I don't know if it's because they haven't seen the movie or they haven't thought about it, but there's a lot of misconceptions about how strong this Superman is for sure. And you can check out my latest video. Me and Garrick have broken down Superman's strength in our respective latest videos.
He's a real one, Superman, in this film. I agree, totally being disrespected in that sense. Issa, shout out, absolute legend. Number one chatter, actually. I didn't even notice this, but they rank you guys now in the chat, which is crazy, and Issa is number one. I don't know who's number two. I guess I can check. It's Michael Myers is number two. Pama Jam is number three. True, you fell out. You're number four, buddy. So if you're in the top three, you get like a little crown next to your name, which is cool. So yeah, thank you for being around and talking a lot, guys. We really do appreciate that, and appreciate the $5 dono. Says Gunn said Peacemaker season 2 will explain the universe plan and have a big cameo. What do you want / expect? Also, love the movie. 9 out of 10. Was smiling the whole time. Glad you liked it. 9 out of 10. Crazy cracked out rating. I think Crisis is at a 10 right now. He said it went up a point. Weren't you at like a 9 last week?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it, especially the second time. I'm just like, it just makes you feel good. You don't even want to look for a flaw, and I think that's the sign of a great.
That's what Nick said last week. Like I could say this, that, and the other thing is bad, but I don't want to. I like the movie a lot, so I'm just gonna ride with the vibes, and Crisis is on that wavelength, and I fuck with that. So that's what we're doing. True's gonna give it a 6 at the end. Spoiler alert. No, I'm kidding. But what do we want / expect? I'm hearing, we talked about this a little bit in DMs earlier. Earth 3 type deal. Alternate dimension. We are getting into that. It is gonna happen in Peacemaker. White Dragon is blue and white instead of red. Is he a good guy? Because, you know, on Earth 3, the good guys are bad guys, the bad guys are good guys. He could be, like, super cool. And then Peacemaker, obviously, on that universe would be a bad guy or the same guy. I feel like Peacemaker, I guess he's established himself as, like, a good guy now. He saved the world from the butterflies.
I've thought about that. It's like, what if you're just middle of the road?
Yeah, morally
like Earth 3
ambiguous.
would just be a duplicate.
Yeah, just be another you. Yeah. So we could get into White Dragon being a hero and like trying to stop the, you know, and Ultraman could actually be from there, not actually be a clone of Superman. Who knows what is going on? But that'd be a cool wrinkle. I think I guess it's not too early for that based on what we got in Superman. Like we went full force into the DC universe, and if we get into that, we get into that. But I don't know if people are really going to want to engage with multiverse stuff. But like True said, just because Marvel's doing it, shouldn't limit yourself. But it's been a lot, and DC has done it too with the Flash and shit, and the Arrowverse and all that. So, what do you guys want / expect to see in Peacemaker? The big cameo. I'll say this before you go, True. Would love to see the cameo be like Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart or both. Similarly to how Supergirl showed up in Superman and Peacemaker, just like a minute or whatever. Like Ari Gardner's going to be in it. I could plausibly see them interact in some way. But that would be just because Lanterns is coming out soon, would be cool to like see them.
Alternate Universe Earth 3. It is...
Ready for Owlman, brother?
It feels so early.
Yeah.
But then I'm just wondering to myself, do we just have the same actors play both roles? Or are we casting an Owlman? Are we casting an Ultraman? Are we casting a Superman?
I mean, we had Ultraman
if
already.
Ultraman is in
Corn Sweat.
Yeah, if Ultraman is like not actually a clone or whatever, yeah.
Is it like, I just, with us already having Ultraman, it feels like a weird thing to then have Ultraman again 2 to 3 movies later. Like, I don't.
It's also interesting that.
I hope this is just.
Okay, so walk with me here. I just thought of this in my head. Like, Ultraman powered by kryptonite, right?
Yeah.
We're out of kryptonite. Did he use it all? Question mark. Secondly, he's covered up the whole time. If he's a clone of Superman, he's literally covered head to toe and his eyes. He's not getting like yellow sun, so he shouldn't be like maintaining his power. He never takes it off. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it could actually be Earth 3 Ultraman if we think about that a little bit, but
that being covered would make him stronger, or, you know, sustain him more so than being exposed to sunlight.
Well, he just doesn't need the sunlight, so that also helps him like
I'm not opposed
his secret identity.
I'm not opposed to it. I think what you do is he is a clone, and when he fell through the black hole, he ended up in Earth 3, similar to how Superman's pod arrives to Earth.
That could be cool, sure.
Okay, there we go. And then he takes over.
And then Peacemaker gets into that.
Yeah, Peacemaker would be like, there's probably, I mean, there's got to be a Batman in this Peacemaker alternate universe. There's going to be everybody, you know, in that universe. There should probably already be, if it's Earth 3, or if, I mean, clearly they're going to be fundamentally different. And the little bit that we see from the trailer is like, this universe is the same as ours but better. Harcourt says that this is like the ideal Peacemaker. Like the Peacemaker there is represents the main Peacemaker's like ideal self. So there's already some kind of like Earth 3-ish. I think like the nature of the people here are different. And so there's probably a JSA in that backstory, right? If they've been around for some part of 300 years, you know, metahumans, then there's got to be more in this pocket universe or whatever we end up going to.
Oh, also,
because I
just
thought
sorry, go
this
ahead,
was
Drew,
too-
go.
So I was gonna say, I thought this multiverse stuff was to try to fix like the little niche inconsistencies that would occur between DCEU and DCU. But are we gonna fix it and then also add something else new? Are we gonna get Earth 1, 2, and 3, or Prime 2, 3?
Yeah,
In this
it'll
movie,
be
then?
it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I mean, we're just going fully on into it, so I don't know.
Because our Peacemaker is also in this world because we see him in the interview. That's
Yeah.
not the unless that's
Correct.
Yeah, he's already here.
So,
No, I don't think that. I think the Peacemaker from season 1 is the one we saw in the interview. I think that's just that takes place on this Earth. I don't think that guy's gonna go into the other universe. Like, I think he meets with the Justice Gang at the beginning of Peacemaker.
yeah. Then doesn't he
and
go
then
through
he
the
discovers maybe because what I was always thinking is like I thought it would be cool if Peacemaker, we pick up season 2, it's this guy, it's the guy we just saw in Superman. He goes into the other universe and it's after Peacemaker season 1 and it's like that's the DCEU. That's the Peacemaker that met the Snyderverse cast and shadow Justice
I don't
League.
want either to be involved with the DC Extended Universe at all. I just want them to pretend
Yeah.
it didn't happen and that this Peacemaker
That's
was
what
just
I wanted.
always in the DCU. Like, yeah.
The baggage is that we're going back to DC.
Yeah, just don't-
love
just-
to carry baggage. You know,
Just don't. Just don't.
we've just taken the weights off. The Superman movie has allowed us to take the weight off. Because think about how many years we were like, okay, if they do this movie, they can like fix it by doing this, and then we were trying to fix jigsaw puzzles. Let me just read the book. I don't.
Yeah,
We'll
no,
see.
I think we'd rather it not have anything to do with the DCEU, but that's what we kind of were promised. We were promised that it would address the fucked up missing puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would prefer if it's just we ignore it, it didn't happen, maybe say Peacemaker was on drugs or something, and that's how they justify the incongruity, and then if they want to go into this, I mean, you'd figure the pocket universe that Lex, I don't know if he didn't make it, but he recreated the Big Bang, and that was enough to open a wormhole, or a series of wormholes. You'd have to figure that pocket universe is just always there. It was just since the beginning of whatever the multiverse. It would go on forever. There's probably an Earth in it eventually. In the pocket reality that Lex found. It's infinite. It would presumably be infinite.
Mr.
not just
Terrific
an
does say
infinite,
it is a universe. He recreated the Big Bang.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it should. If it was a one-to-one recreation, it should just be infinitely expanding like our universe. So I would say I would agree. It's probably much younger. So you would have to get to that point where like life could flourish and begin. But if there's already life in there due to Lex's meddling, then it could just explode a lot faster than our universe did.
I just figured because of what they said, what Gunn was like, the pocket universe is set up for that's a way that's the connective through line plot wise to Peacemaker.
This
And we already-
pocket universe or just pocket universes in like general.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's going to be many doorways, like we've seen in the Peacemaker 2 trailer. Like he goes through the closet, and there's already a bunch, and that led me also to believe that Lex probably already had this teleporter tech for like probably years, however long ago Peacemaker season 1 is, because I don't think White Dragon would stumble upon it or invent it before Lex would.
Well, he did have his little
so I feel
fancy
like-
room in his house in the first one. That was kind of like
That's what I mean. That's what I
Yeah.
mean is
Okay.
that probably is the same thing. That
The same
probably is a
tech.
pocket universe, and then
Right.
they just go like the doors are like the black hole portals. It's the same technology, but it's not obviously. White Dragon isn't pushing it to like, tear the earth in half or whatever.
Yeah.
I would have to figure that Lex has already had this tech for a long time, and I don't know, maybe because he's probably been imprisoning people for years. I mean, those were a lot of cells and a lot of ex-girlfriends presumably.
yeah.
Did Lex make White Dragon's tech?
I mean, he had to get.
Probably.
He probably didn't make it himself.
Right.
Got it from one of these rich assholes. I'm changing my mind on the cameo. Batmite. I want the cameo to be Batmite. Mentioned in season 1.
I think that would be.
We're doing alternate
yeah.
dimensions and stuff. We already had a dimensional imp in this movie. Let's just get a quote unquote 5th dimensional imp. Extra dimensional imp.
How funny would it be
Just
if
on
he
the
got Batman before Batman was cast in live action?
that would be
How funny would
that would be epic. And if
And
that
he could be like he goes to fucking Matt Reeves' room and he's like, hurry up, do the script. Like,
what's taking
goes
so
into the real
long?
You could like puppet like an empty bat suit. Like I feel like there's a lot you could do if you want to play into
Who would Batmite be though?
Danny DeVito.
I would want it to be like I would want it to be a Batman. Like you asked me about Christian Bale coming back. It's Christian Bale as Batmite. That's what
Christian Bale.
Dude, that is
Christian Bale,
acting talent.
Pattinson, Clooney, Keaton, one of them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know who'd be a good Batmite.
I think any of them.
Andy Serkis?
It'll be fucking.
Freak.
It'll be Josh Gad or something dumb like that. Anyway.
Oh, probably.
Do you know what? It'll probably be Tom Holland. I think.
That would be funny.
Yeah. Worst.
Seth Meyers wants to play someone. Maybe he can be Batmite.
Yeah, I agree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming here to the end of the DCU Experience for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I am going to sign off, but instead of doing the typical sign off that I do, I am going to say true. You need to give us a rating before we get out of here. What are you rating the film? Because if it's a review,
I am giving the film.
Yeah, go ahead.
The film for me was an 8.5. It's just there was nothing wrong with the film, but I think my expectations were so high.
Yeah.
But I think
could we live up to those expectations?
Yeah, and that so I think if you ask me this in another couple of weeks, once I've sat down with the reality of it, I maybe it changes to something like a 9. But yeah, I think it's just that and like maybe a little bit of plotting, but that's really it. I think the movie has no problems.
Perfect. Same score as me. Yeah. I have to say, objectively correct. But I also really like Crisis and Nick's take on the thing, so maybe I'll change it to a 10 after seeing it twice. But thank you, everybody, for stopping by here in the DCU Experience. We talked a lot about Superman. We're going to talk more about Superman. We're going to talk more about Peacemaker and everything coming up. The DCU has started in full. We are in the universe, completely enveloped in it now, and we just have so much to talk about from here until the end of the year, and then we're getting straight into Lanterns really shortly at the beginning of 2026. So we got Peacemaker coming up, and we've got like infinite news on the way. So stay tuned, lock in, subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Check us out on Spotify, and check out Crisis's channel as well. He makes a lot of great videos over there, a lot of DC videos and a lot of videos outside of DC that you might be interested in, so go check them out. For Crisis, for True, and for Nick, my name is Garrick.